Everybody, thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan for today, Jina St James. Jina,
hey.
Thanks so much for taking the time. I'm super excited for this one. I know
too.
you're super busy, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
There's a lot of people out there in anticipation, kind of just waiting to see what you have and who you are as a person or professional. So let's just dive in if you're cool with that.
Okay.
All right, here we go, everybody. So, Jina, tell everybody just a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, let's see. I was very blessed, and I had parents that taught me to just live the dream. Just follow your dream. And they were entrepreneurs by spirit, so of course I followed in that same footsteps and got to follow my dream, if you will.
Right.
And as a lot of people know, I'm a mom of 5. I've been married for 17 years to a wonderful man who has been so supportive and a pain in my side as well. So it works out perfectly.
It's a double edge. He's an awesome guy.
He is.
So for
I'm
sure, all day.
Yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
that's a lot about me.
I love it. And you talk about family and kind of being in here and in this industry. So let's talk about a little bit about that, because you do have quite a reputation in this community. Super positive, very knowledgeable. So what got you into the business in the first place, Jina? I mean, what was that progression in your career?
I think that entrepreneur spirit kind of kicks in there, and I was one of those crazy people that loved to tour model homes.
Huh.
Even if I wasn't buying a house, I had to tour one.
Okay, very cool.
Drove Brian crazy for sure.
Hey, Brian.
But yeah, so I just really enjoyed sales in general, because that was the one thing that you could do where there was no limit.
Okay.
You could set the limit. It was based on how hard you work, and so naturally I just kind of progressed into sales in general, and then I love houses, so it was kind of like 2 and 2 go hand in hand, so why not? So that's kind of where I went.
Now, why when it comes down to it, because a lot of people they'll go into residential and then they'll go into commercial. I mean, obviously sales into that standpoint can be in many variants. So what about residential and kind of what gets you going, that sort of thing, why you love what you do?
I think that really just comes down to your clients, the people, right? A house is the biggest purchase they're ever going to make, and it's probably one of the most stressful and exciting times. And we have a lot of fun helping people through that process, and that's why I really enjoy residential, because you're working with families. There is a lot more emotion involved, so that part can be a little bit tricky, but also fun. Okay. So I really enjoy that part.
And that's a big testament into your reputation out in the community, and obviously why you've had the success that you've had. And just clarification for everybody out here, it's not just about production, it's not just about numbers or commissions is why to be a Titan, but it's the impact and the legacy that you're leaving in the community and doing the right thing as a professional. You guys are not all created equal, so I'm really glad that you're on the show to show everybody, hey, here's what it is, everybody. So
you made a mistake.
No, that's not true. That's not true. So going into the next question, which I think is really fantastic for a lot of people to get to know you, is, Jina, and this is a segue into it, I guess, is what's your why? I mean, what motivates you to do what you do to the level that you do it at?
Wow, you just went like straight for the heart.
Yeah.
Well, I think for all of us, a lot of it is our family. Our family is a big portion of why we get up. Like I said, I have 5 kids, so my kids are my world.
Right.
And that's where you see the mama bear, is with my kids.
Love it.
And my team. But I think it goes deeper than that. Our family is kind of our starting point.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the money. A lot of people think it is. And if it is about the money, you shouldn't be in the business, quite frankly.
Well said.
I think it's more about giving back. So finding that drive, because we get asked that all the time, what's your why? And a lot of us struggle. We don't know what our why is. We just get up and we do it, right?
Right.
But I think for me more recently, when we start getting a little bit more comfortable, then you're like, okay, how can I help others? And for me, that was the drive, is, okay, my family is comfortable now, and, we still have our struggles. But I think that was a blessing, too, is having struggles, because then we understand when people are having struggles. And so being able to help others in that situation, and like our military, I love our military. I mean,
Right.
anyone that protects us besides our military, but like our first responders, those guys, those are my whys. I enjoy giving back to them. And then of course about the foundation.
Yeah.
Is very close.
Do you mind telling a little bit about that? Because that's a big portion out there for charity and involvement for community. I know that's a big part. If you don't mind sharing.
I don't mind sharing. I just don't want to tear up. I hate crying.
This is live, so if it happens,
I'm so sorry.
It is. It's real.
A foundation that's very close to my heart is called Operation Underground Railroad, and what it's about is child sex trafficking and organ harvesting. It's a horrible subject, but it's something that's very close to me because it involves kids, and believe it or not, Colorado is probably one of the biggest states that has this issue.
Unreal.
So I got introduced to that foundation, and that was, for whatever reason, that one just really pulls at my heartstrings. It makes me want to do more.
Wow.
And save these kids. These kids are going through horrible, unimaginable, horrific things, and so if I can just have a little small part in saving a kid, I'm all for it.
Wow, and that's huge, contributing to your why and your heart and your giving nature. Just so everybody knows, I'll have a link to that charity below so that you can do your own research, donate if you want to, get involved. So I think that's really important for everybody out there to know that it is not just about our immediate family, but our clients and then charities we're a part of. Again, Titan, everybody. There's a reason. So let's go into the next question. This is more the advisory portion. Some of the seasoned professionals or the newer professionals that are watching this series, they want to know what the Titans are doing with their business, whatever they're able to share anyhow. So if you could look at your career thus far, Jina, and pick and choose maybe one or two things that you added to your business that took it from one level to the next, what does that look like for you?
Well, let's see. Be stubborn, but not too stubborn.
Okay. Write this down.
Listen, you're going to learn something new every day. And if you think you know everything, then you're going to stop learning. And you got to learn to expand because our environment keeps changing. No matter what business you're in, it's going to keep changing and evolving. So you have to evolve with it. Surround yourself with people that are good mentors that want to see you be successful. That's a huge portion, I think, of how my business grew, is that I was surrounded by great people like yourself and Gary and Amy and so many others that they taught me that there's so much abundance. You don't need to fight for everything. You need to share and give. And the giving back, I think, is what changes everything. Your mindset will change. And I hate giving credit to Gary on this, but
a fellow Titan. Hey, Gary, if you're watching.
Gary had something. He's like, okay, Gina, you need to write down gratitudes and affirmations. And I'm like, I don't need to do that crap. I am not doing that. And finally I listened. It's that stubborn side again.
Yeah.
And I start doing it. And it really does shift your mindset where it's like, there's so many things to be grateful for. I think it's so easy to focus on the negative.
Right.
So I always start my day with writing down, not 25 like Gary wants me to, but I do 5 things I'm grateful about and 5 affirmations.
Love it.
And the ones that make me cringe, the ones where I don't fully believe in, those are the ones that I write down.
Okay.
I have this really strong belief if you don't throw up from what you're doing, then you're not doing something right. So
good.
It's kind of where I go with that, and just kind of expand, if you will.
Okay. And there was a lot there. I mean, talking about getting out of your comfort zone, doing things that kind of make you not necessarily feel the best, but you know that that's where you need to be. Having the mentors in your life, that's huge. That's huge advice for anybody. And it doesn't matter where you are in your career, your time frame. There's always somebody to teach you something and something you can learn from somebody. So that's huge advice for everybody to take away. So hopefully you guys wrote that down. So let's go into the tricky question. And this is the challenge question. So this gets everybody a little deeper window into who the Titan is and what they deal with and struggle. Because quite frankly, we all deal with challenges, whether it's in the past, now, or into the future. But it's not so much what happens, but how we respond that I think truly makes the difference and impact. So Jina, if you're comfortable with sharing a challenge that you dealt with, that you overcame, that you became stronger because of it, what does that look like for you?
Oh, God. There's so many things to choose from in my life.
Here we go. Honesty here. Integrity, everybody.
Well, there's a couple things, but I think more recently went through a significant change, and I think a lot of people are uncomfortable with change. And so I've grown where I could handle changes.
Right.
But for me, the hardest thing is being vulnerable. You know, I kind of have this wall, and I think it's just from our business is that we kind of learn to be a little bit more reserved at first until we get to know people. And so I went through a situation where I let that wall down and I let the real me out, and I got close to people. And unfortunately, some events had happened, and you know, you kind of feel that you're kind of blindsided and a backlash, and it makes you second guess who you are and you know what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and to the point where I want to quit just the business in general. And you know, luckily, kind of falling back to what I said before, if you surround yourself by good people, they're there to keep you centered. And for me, that was very important, and especially now, you know, as we get older, we're supposed to get more mature. That ain't true.
The older we get, the wiser we get, is something like that, right?
Some, yeah, not necessarily, but you know, I learned that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's so easy to drop down to that level and be like, okay, well, I'm going to show you who I am, and how dare you cross me, kind of thing.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't have to do that. And when you get to that level where you can be like, it's all right, you know, I wish you the best of success, I'm going to continue on my way, that's a good feeling. That's when you know you're doing the right thing.
I love that you share that, and thanks, by the way, because that's not easy to do, to, you know, air out any issues or thought processes that we have. But I think there's so much for people to take away is you let your guard down for the right reasons, and in that instance it backfired, but you learn from it, and you're able to pick and select those situations that made you stronger. And I think that being vulnerable, being humble, I think is important to a lot of people, and we can't just be guarded 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So, but
it's easier.
Yes, it is. It is. That's very true. That's very true. But I think that's a lot of advice for everybody to take, myself included. It's okay to open up, and you know what? It's okay to be hurt. Yeah. We all get hurt. We all go through struggle, but don't let it stop you. And I think another note that I picked up very heavily, so hopefully you guys are picking this up too, is, you know, surrounding yourself with those like-minded individuals, the positive people in your life, because no matter how bad the struggle is or what we go through, they're here to lift us up, not take us down.
Yeah.
So that was huge. So thanks, Jina. That was not easy to do. So let's go into a slightly softer question, if you're all right with that. Just air it out here, everybody. So if you could go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice or two.
Oh, God.
What would you say to young Jina? Now, this could be literally young Jina or last year, but what would you say to yourself?
There's so much advice. Stay away from that guy. No.
Okay, that guy was bad. Let's get that out of the way.
Don't do that again. Be proud of who you are. I think that we're constantly trying to prove to other people. You got to prove who you are to yourself first, and that still is a hard lesson for me. You know, because we all want people to like us and love us, and if they don't, we're like, well, what's wrong with me, you know?
Right.
But I remember a time in high school, it was my sophomore year, and I was just kind of like, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks.
Seriously.
And that was the best year of high school, because I didn't care. And then somehow, you know, as we start becoming adults, we forget that lesson, and you kind of go back to I want everybody to like me kind of thing. But just recently I was like, you know what, this is me, and if you like me, awesome. If you don't, well, that sucks for you. You're missing out. And
So
I'm just kind of, you know, moving in the direction that I need to move. And again, I'm very blessed, and I'm surrounded by amazing people, and I have a very supportive family. So those things together, it makes it work for sure.
I love that takeaway for so many people, and not just young Gina, but everybody else who's watching this can really resonate with that. We're all trying to, I don't want to say we all, but there's a lot of us that are trying to be that best version, and we care so much about what other people think. There's that old adage, and it's a little negative. I'm not usually a negative guy, but when it comes down to it, we work really hard at jobs we don't like, to buy things we don't need, to impress people we don't care about.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. Focus on you. Focus on your family and your sphere. Try to do positive things, is what you're saying. But it's okay not to care if they don't. Not everybody has to like us.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
exactly. And the minute that you stop worrying about all that stuff and you want to give to other people, then it all comes together. It's amazing how if you start wanting to help others and give to others, everything just falls into place. I don't know how it works. It just works that way.
That's awesome. I'm glad that and that's huge. So please, everybody, take that to heart. I will as well. I think that's super, super good stuff. So let's go into the feeding of the mind portion. So there's a lot of people out there that are watching this that say, hey, look, what are the Titans feeding their minds? How are they growing? How are their skills increasing? So if you could take a look and maybe look at some books you're reading, podcasts you're listening to, or influencers on social media, coaches, what are you feeding your mind, Gina?
Well,
you're like,
say that. No,
well, there's
kidding.
only certain things we can talk about on the show.
Who watches this? No. Quite honestly, it's been recent that I've actually started reading books.
Okay.
So I'll go to the book last. I'm more of a face-to-face person. So for me, the people that have been a big influence in feeding the mind, if you will, is when I joined the Cutting Edge.
Love it.
I have Amy, who I call her my badass. I love her to death.
Another fellow Titan. Hey, Amy, if you're watching.
She's just a great role model, and especially a woman in this industry that can hold her own. I have so much respect for her. And of course, Gary, I have a lot of respect. He kind of goes hand in hand with Amy, and then Chris Cowles. Yeah, I have him, and
I love that guy.
Even Rob Edgen.
Hey, Rob.
He's amazing. He's been a great influence. But that also includes you. Yeah.
I swear, my face is turning red.
He paid me to say that. No, I'm just kidding. You've been amazing on helping me focus on, what to focus on and how to grow and make my business better. So that was a big help.
Gina. That means a lot. Thank you.
I mean it. And then Dimitri from Pixford.
Yeah, Dimitri.
Love Dimitri.
Great
Love
guy.
all those guys, but Dimitri.
Yeah.
There's something about him. He's
special
cool.
place in the heart for that guy.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. And then of course my husband.
Mm-hmm.
So that is kind of my core.
Yeah.
They've been such a great influence. I always joke around about Brian because I don't know how this man does it, but he can fire people and they love him. Yeah. I do that and they hate me. I'm like,
come on.
What? How?
Brian, how do you do this? Please put a comment in the section below and explain.
Please explain the secret recipe you have. And then of course my parents. So all those guys have always kind of been my mentors in life and my books. So I'm more of a action person. Like I like to see things done in action and follow those examples. Sure. I always kind of joke around. I'm like Steve Jobs. I see how somebody does something and then I want to make it better. So I take their platform and then just go a little step further.
So powerful.
But just recently, I started, thanks to Gary, reading Tony Robbins. I've always loved him. Okay. And his Unshakable. He's just got some great books out there. For sure. And so I listen to his audiobooks because let's be honest, we're busy. It's really hard to read. Very hard. And my all-time favorite book, because it goes back to customer service, which I think is kind of become a lost art. We forgot that it's about the customers.
Wow. Well said.
There's a book by Joey Coleman, and it's called Never to Lose a Customer Again. And it just takes kind of what a lot of us are already doing and takes it 10 steps further. Wow. So I'm really excited to see what that will do, implementing into my business.
Very cool.
I always joke around with our clients, and some of them get a kick out of it. Some of them are like, "What?" But I always say to them, "Hey, at the end of the process, we want to be friends because we're going through such a long process with you, and at the end of the day, we want you to wave to us with your whole hand, not just one finger. Because
That's awesome.
if it's one finger, that's not good.
You're number one, not this finger, or well, that's a thumb, so I don't know if that's the right finger. You know, read between the lines. That's what you're saying.
So yeah.
Wow.
So those are kind of the things that I've been listening to, and of course, Gary. I can never say his name right.
Gary V.
Yes.
Yeah. The easiest way
Love
to say
him.
it. Vandercheck, but V. Yeah, it's easier. Great
I
guy.
looked at the picture with him.
You know, he's a good guy. Every once in a while you run into him. But I think that there's so much there as far as influence. I love the fact that, and nothing wrong with books, nothing wrong with podcasts, and you listed some, but I think a big takeaway for so many people watching this, myself included, is really constantly learning from the people that are around us.
Oh,
we are
absolutely.
living, breathing books. We're living, breathing podcasts. I mean, take advantage of that. And you're so smart to have already done that and continue to. I think there's been only one other Titan that had mentioned something similar to that out of the whole series. So that's really, really big advice. I'll have links in the comments down below so you can feed your mind and follow and really read and understand the way Jina does. So that'll be really good for everybody watching this.
Good luck. I don't even know what I do.
This is good. This is good, everybody. So, Jina, this has been packed full of great information, great follow through, everything for everybody to really get to know you, but also learn from. So let's wrap it up with a final question.
Okay.
This really ends up being you summing yourself up as an individual, as a brand, as a businesswoman, with a quote or a mantra that you might live by. What does that look like for Jina St. James?
There's actually two.
Okay.
And I'm going to mess them up.
No, you're good.
Put on the spot.
Good.
The first one that I actually used to have in my phone, it says, "I want to be the inspiration for someone to not give up." So that was one that I've always had.
Love it.
One more recent that I just thought was perfect for everything that was going on and just kind of putting myself back to where I should be and grounded. It kind of makes you think about how to be you. And so the quote goes something along the lines of respect those that stand next to you, protect those that stand behind you, and defeat those that stand in front of you.
Wow.
I just really like that one.
That is so powerful. There's so much background to that, and I think that's talking about your surroundings and the people who support you and love you and the people who maybe don't care for you as much. I think that's really, really powerful stuff to take away. Sums up you as a brand, as a person perfectly, Jina. So thanks so much for being on the show. You are officially a real estate titan.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. Again, full of information. Everybody, thanks so much for your time and support. Really, really appreciate that. As always, live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon. A different titan, a different location. We'll catch you on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.
Bye.
And we are